Welcome to the Fitness Marketing Agency podcast. On this episode, we're joined by Ollie Marchon and Jenz Robinson. These guys are behind the brand Marchon, Gymowner Network, and the PFCA. They have a range of services from in-person gyms, online coaching, supplements, merch, events, and education for the fitness industry. In this episode, we talk about their mindset into growing their brand and their businesses.
Focus on putting your best energy, your best performance into that thing. And until you've done that and then being able to remove yourself and that still spins, there's literally no point.
I got such a jump on everyone else in the fitness industry because I wasn't going out on Friday nights or Saturday nights. Like, we think we're out in front, therefore there's a target on our back. We'll often say, like, someone's coming for your jersey and, like, do you want to give it up to them or not?
But then we dive into gyms that they are currently working with and what they see in the industry, what's working now, what's not working.
Coaching is all about getting people to line up what they value with their action. The best coaches can do that better than anyone else. And like, your excuses aren't going to cut it.
The biggest mistakes they see and general practice of what you should be doing in 2023 and beyond to have a high level of service and a highly profitable fitness business. We're super excited to be bringing you this podcast. Now, the purpose of this show is quite simple: to show fitness business owners what's working right now in the industry, to show you how to grow your business and create more impact in your local community. If you like this podcast, please make sure to subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Spotify, share us on social media if you enjoy what you hear. We'd love to get more people listening to the show. And with that said, we'll go ahead and kick things off. Ollie, Jenz, thank you guys for coming down to the studio to be on the podcast. I want to dive straight in. I just want to reel off what you guys are doing at the moment. So first of all, we've got two gyms. We've got the online coaching platform, supplements, merch, events, the PFCA and the Gym Owners Network, which we'll get into a little bit later and talk all things gyms. Now, when I look at what you guys are doing, it looks like to me there's almost like a pathway that you guys have created. And what I want to first know is, was that intentional? Was that just by coincidence? And what is like the big vision for what you guys are building with all of these projects?
Yeah, I think it always was intentional. I think as we've kind of stumbled along the journey, it's become a little bit more apparent where we're kind of going with it. So at first, when we had the original gym, myself and Jenz got together with the original version of the PFCA, which was called the SCA, where we wanted to try and create an education pathway for coaches that I knew eventually that I would need to hire, because that was one thing I was very acutely aware of, is that starting a business with myself, my brother, and my best mate, who were very good coaches, would soon come unstuck if we couldn't hire in more coaches that could carry that forward. So we identified a bit of a problem, and I knew that Jenz was the perfect person to partner with to try and create the solution, which was developing great education for great coaches.
So it started off as a solution for your own gym and your own situation, and then it was scaled out to the masses, essentially.
Correct. Like, we had a lot of people that were asking us for education and knowledge and know-how and insight into how I'd done what I'd done within the gym. So like I said, it fixed two problems. One, it was we were paying forward to other coaches that might want to go on to be gym owners, but by first perfecting their craft and becoming great coaches. And then two, we'd have a talent pool of people to pick from into Marchon. As I mentioned earlier, just before we started recording, online was something we were always doing pre-opening the gym. So it was kind of there, it was sat, it was an asset that we knew we were doing quite well with it, but we didn't really know the opportunity that sort of lay ahead of us. And like I said, COVID was kind of the accelerant to that. The supplements was born out of my experience with working with brands in the industry for about a decade. And then we soon had nutrition coaches that worked within our business, and they were advising, consulting with clients. And it would never be the first thing that we go to, which would be advice to take supplements. It would always be around, food and their relationship with food. But it was a common reoccurring theme that people were insufficient with protein and certain other products. So the opportunity arose for us to develop our own, and we wanted to make them better tasting, easier accessible, and again, just have a Marchon sticker on front of it, because that felt better for us. So everything has been with good intention behind it, to try and create a bit of a flywheel within the Marchon ecosystem. And I guess the underlying thing for me was trying to have a daily Marchon touch point in people's lives, whether that was drinking a protein shake, putting on some socks, going to a gym, using a workout.
It's so cool because I could come across you as the personal brand and really follow your stuff, and then maybe I start buying the supplements, and then maybe I sign up to a competition, and then maybe I love fitness, but I decide I want to become a personal trainer. Then maybe I get qualified, and then I actually want to own a gym. So I really see that almost like linear pathway you guys have created, and I think it's very, very cool. My next question is, how do you manage all those projects? So, and we're going to go into running the gym. So running the gym in isolation is hard work, right? There's a lot of plates to spin. How do you guys manage and lead a team to be able to work on all these separate projects?
I think when it comes to looking at it from the outside in, it could just seem like there's a lot. But each thing came at the right amount of challenge as we grew, right? So as Ollie said, like there were just different touch points where we identified different problems and we were like, how could we solve that? How could we do better? Luckily, especially from Ollie's standpoint, because of who he is and his personal brand, he was able to attract some amazing people along the way. So now if you look at the team is extremely strong. So yes, we have better structure, we have better meeting cadence, we have better projections and kind of structure in terms of what we're trying to do. So all that really cascades down, but fundamentally we have great people. So then if we can just, find harmony between everyone's work ethic and we all share this similar kind of without limits mentality, then everything just kind of snowballs. And effectively then what we're trying to do is just navigate the snowball to kind of really focus down.
And with building a team in quite a fast growing business comes that leadership aspect, and lessons have to be learned pretty quickly for both yourself and also the team along the way. What would you say are some key lessons you guys have learned when it comes to leadership with an ever growing team? Because we've had some fast growth and we've had people come in, and there's definitely challenges when it comes to leadership. It's a fairly new role to myself, not so much Ben, but there's challenges and lessons learned along the way. So what would you say for you guys those challenges may have been?
We're still learning. Like we haven't got it nailed. Particularly 2022 for us, probably a bit like yourselves, was a big year of growth. Personnel sort of from I think 12 almost to 20, and it was a steep learning curve. The biggest things are delegation first and foremost, like getting out your own way, learning to delegate, and stop thinking that you can do everything better than everyone else. That's really important. Then regular check-ins with that person to understand that to know that they understand what's being asked of them, how they're being measured, and that you can get review feedback from them to better facilitate and better guide and better lead them. So there will be the two things. First and foremost, delegation and check-ins, and then secondly, links back to getting out your own way, like not being the direct report for everyone and trying to let go of control a little bit more so that people can have accountability roles and responsibilities that aren't just to yourself. And there's like a management team or kind of middle layer within the business that you can, as the business leader or owner, sit above, so that you only get the relevant information that you need to have perspective to be able to implement.
How many people on the team?
Now there's, across everything, I think there's 18. Yeah.
Do you think there's a fine balance with being able to delegate and get out your own way, but also maintaining the vision and the course that you want to go on to? Because this is something that we kind of speak about quite a lot. And there's that clip that Ben Francis did on, I think it was Chris Williams' podcast. And he said, from 0 to 10 million, I had to be a dictator because I knew what the vision was. I knew how to get there. And everyone around me has all these great ideas. And although you want to be a good leader and delegate as well, you have to kind of stick to your core. So do you guys find that you have to contend with that at all in terms of being honest in some situations when maybe it might be hard to, or how do you guys find with those sort of situations? I
think I actually disagree. I listened to that podcast. I think to get from 0 to 10 million as a dictator, I think is pretty tough. I think maybe one, like doing it your way to like 1 million, I think is probably necessary. But from 1 to 10, I think you need the people around you. And I think you need to be able to collaborate from 1 to 10, or at least from 3 to 10.
Yeah.
So I think I'd struggle to, particularly in a business like businesses like us, running gyms and things, or fitness businesses that weren't a Gymshark, to get to 10 million, just telling people what to do and not taking their insight, I think would be pretty tough.
Going back to the gym days, when did the growth happen for you? What did you let go of for that growth to happen in the gym?
There's been different unlocks along the journey. So the first unlock would be getting off the gym floor. So that happened 2019? 2018.
Yeah.
How many sessions were you coaching daily?
Quite a lot. Like my morning would be like, I would start on the gym floor at 6 a.m. and coach to 11. And that would probably be like my coaching 5 days a week. If there wasn't 3 sessions on at any particular time, I would be the first person to come off the gym floor. But then you're relying, you can't plan what that hour would be if you get off the gym floor because you might be needed. So it's not a very constructive way to be working. So that was the first unlock. I was probably coaching every morning, and then that would be 4 mornings, 3 mornings, etc. But I decided in a conversation with Jenz that I was verbalizing and voicing my frustrations, but it all started with me. I just needed to get myself off the gym floor. At that stage, I didn't have any hand in programming or anything else like that. So then it was like strictly operational, understanding the ins and outs of the business, understanding the marketing. I was still doing all the sales at that point as well. And then the next hire was an operations person. So they would then look at memberships and customer journey, customer service. And I think ever since then, 2018, it's just constantly actively trying to remove myself out of every role within the business. And if I could replace myself with someone else, still see performance going up, then I knew that the business must be growing and doing
What would you say to the gym owner who is in that position now where maybe they've reduced their coaching, but they're still coaching a lot because their mentality is, I'm the best coach. All the members come here because they love me. I still need to be seen. I still need to be the person, the man. What would you say to them?
Did you guys experience that, thinking that they need to be having FaceTime with me, that's why they've signed up, and how did you deal with it?
I'll go first because Jenz will have some great insight here. But like from me, genuinely, and this isn't me throwing shade at most gym owners, but they probably are the best coach and they probably are the man. They probably are all those things because they don't reinvest in their team and they don't have a career development pathway for their team. They don't have CPD and a common language that they're all on the same page with. They're probably not employing most of their teams. They can't get them to show up to CPD sessions. So it starts with all of those things. You're never going to not be the best coach if you don't put all those things in place first.
It almost sounds like by being the best coach, you're not being as good of a leader as you could be, because you have to put that aside.
By being the best coach, can you swear on this podcast?
Yeah.
You've probably got a shit gym.
In terms of like the management, the systems, the operations, because everything just runs through you.
And the mean average of the coaching product will be shit as well, because by you trying to be the best, you actually create a bigger divide between you and your staff. So then the members will literally only know you to be that good and everyone else to be shit. And if that's the case, then it's like, oh, I don't want to train with her today. Or, it's a terrible tip, but a tip that we have to give some gym owners is like, don't put the coach's name next to the class timetable so that the member's not trying to attach themselves to a particular coach. But like to kind of bring it back to the leadership part and to Ben's question is like, I think for a lot of the gym owners trying to develop as a leader, oftentimes they're reading the books, they're listening to the podcast, and they're trying to overanalyze how to say something, where most often it's just like, say what you mean and say with less words. Because they're saying with all these, like, they're trying to over-explain or over-justify why they're trying to do something, where it's like, just talk about the impact, make everyone clear about the vision in which we're trying to take the gym, and effectively say with as little words as possible, and then give them something to be measured against, right? Give them clear expectations. So then to kind of bring it all the way back to that gym owner who won't get off the gym floor, so to speak. Effectively, what we tend to do is look at what was the driver for you to open up the gym. And a lot of people will say something like, I want to help people. I want to help more people. As a PT, I could only help 15, 20 clients. I wanted to help 200 clients open up a gym. So it's like, okay, great. So where do you think your energy is best placed? Is it you still coaching, let's say 25, 30 hours a week? Or can we spend a lot of that time investing into your team, getting them to be an extension of you, your values, your principles? And now through you, you're impacting so many more people. And it's not until you literally draw it out that they're like, that makes sense. Like a great leader in a gym-based business is actually a great mentor to your staff so that they can learn to practice as good as you may be with the view to make them better than you. And that's where your ego needs to die. And a lot of people tend not to do that.
Do you think it's quite a shock to the system for a lot of people when they open a gym to find out that actually to have it successful, it's less of you on the gym floor?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say it in a more compassionate way. If you want to be the best coach in the gym, that's also absolutely fine because it's your gym. Like you decide which role that you play within it, but then there needs to be someone that's better than you at the other things, in which case you need to go out to hire those people, which is marketing, sales, customer service, etc. So if you want a great gym, if you want a great business, if you want the continuation of the success you had as a personal trainer leading you to open this facility to carry on, you have to decide where you're best placed and where other people can come on and complement what you're doing.
Under the Gym Owner Network brand, how quickly with the gyms that you coach, do they make that transition from being the coach, doing everything in the business to then stepping back gradually?
It purely depends on the person, right? We've got one particular case study who we've known for years, and to get her to remove herself where she's largely attached to what people think about me, and her way of gratifying herself as a successful gym owner is the instant gratification she gets on the gym floor. Wow, Abby, that was amazing. Wow, this, wow, that. Where in fact, what we wanted to do was like, okay, what can we do that you're practicing day to day and extend that into your team? Sometimes we've got to look at what are the margins so that we can actually create a better influx of cash, so we can actually hire in and et cetera, et cetera. So the boring answer would be it depends, but the view is always to set a deadline. So it's like, right, by this day, you're off the gym floor. That's the pressure.
It all depends how quickly people want to see success, because it's a necessary evil. For some people, they just want to skirt around it for too long, though. The people that go and implement everything we say, and I'm not saying we've got all the answers, but we've got most of them because we've lived it ourselves. The people that go and implement straight away will move as fast as is humanly possible to success.
Well, sometimes the hardest thing is just to get them to change their mindset, to see it in the right light. Once they actually shift their mindset, the work is quite straightforward, and it's still hard work, but it's actually that resistance to change that can be the biggest thing in terms of helping someone have success inside their gym.
The worst thing I see is how people go, oh, but look how much it costs. It's like, no. Look at the upside if you do this right. Like, it's literally 3, 4, 5x of what you're currently doing. If you could just do this one thing, invest into staff, invest into good people.
I think cost versus investment is such like a massive factor as well. Like, how do you look at money? Because, you know, again, at FMA, like we spend very heavily to invest into marketing, whether that be into Facebook ads or going to an event. And it's because we know that pushes the needle forward, where some people see it as a cost and they have a bit of a scarcity mindset around spending money. But I just think it's the complete, obviously you should understand how much you're making and how much you're getting back, but ultimately, like, you're doing it for a reason, and that is to grow the thing. So it's an investment. I
think the biggest thing for personal trainers, I fell into this, or I was guilty of it for a period of time. As personal trainers, goes back to the instant gratification thing. You're used to money for time. You're used to seeing your bank balance rack up, because your overheads they're kind of a fixed cost, and they don't really move when you're a PT. Your gym rent, whatever it may be, or, you know, a percentage of what you're making to the gym owner. When you move to being a gym owner yourself, you try and have that same mindset. You think more money in the bank is more success, but you need to keep feeding the baby to a certain level. And again, success leaves clues. FMA is a great example of it. You can see the growth over the last couple of years, and you can see that you literally put everything you can back into the business, to events, and getting yourselves out there. Same with Marchon. Like, again, we can only talk off our experiences. Everything within reason has gone back into the business to scale the gyms, to improve our equipment, to start online, to build our app, to invest in supplements. So,
and why is that, just out of curiosity? So why do you put everything back into the business? Why do you put everything into the app to like redevelop the product? Like, what?
Because you could have easily pulled a bigger salary, bought the car, the dream house, the clothes, the watches, which we do see in the industry and people flexing. So what made you decide, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to...
I think for me, it's like long-term vision. The fear for me, and maybe Jen's to a degree as well, is like, what does a fitness professional look like at 45, 50, 60 years old? There's not anyone that's further enough down the track for us to look at them and go, oh, I can see myself doing that, because it's still the industry is quite in its infancy. So you see a lot of people going into business coaching or whatever it may be, but there aren't that many examples of people that you can see what your trajectory looks like. So for me, I always wanted to know that there was safety in a business that I could draw a salary from, that could keep food on the table. As a worst case scenario, that's what I want to happen. I'm probably the sort of person, given my experience with sport and what have you, and various setbacks, where I need to overprove something to myself to a factor of probably 2x what most people would do. So the targets we'll put on the business, a 2x like what anyone else would do, so that I can be absolutely positive that's going to happen. Flexing, you know, we have what we need from the business in terms of those things. We just keep it behind closed doors. But I think for the most part, as a fitness professional or as a business owner, you should focus on feeding the business first. Make sure everyone, you know, has a comfortable life, so they show up to work motivated, and play the long game.
In speaking of investing, not just in terms of like a monetary sense, but I see you two like investing a lot of your time into the work that you do. Like, Jenz, I see you working at 6 a.m. on a Sunday, training, and then working with the PFCA. Like, you guys are consistently switched on, and I just see a very high level work ethic.
I love it.
Yeah. I'll tell you a little story actually. So when we first met you guys properly, we came to Harpenden and we sat down with you and we saw your operation. Later on in the week, it was a Friday, I was having dinner with my girlfriend, and I get a 3-minute voice note from Ben. and I'm kind of itching to know what this says because it's 3 minutes. Sounds like quite beefy.
I can't remember this.
Oh well, so
Your poor girlfriend.
I know this is
gonna come at us.
this is really bad because I go down to the toilet and I listen to it there. So I'm
all done it.
Yeah, so I'm really sorry, Kerry. But basically, it just says like seeing how much they're working, seeing how switched on they are every single day. And he said, where we are in the business, I need the people around me switched on, and I need you switched on. And from that moment there, I've worked pretty much every single weekend, I think, for a year straight. And I do that because I love what I do, but I take a lot of inspiration from seeing you guys there. But that comes from your work ethic. So back to you guys, like, what is it that drives you to work and put that daily work in?
Hold on. Firstly, it's been noticed as well.
It has been
honestly, your work ethic has been admirable from us seeing what you've done for the last year. Big up. It's been fucking cool to see. I'll go first. To be honest, I think I know no different. Like, it just is what it is. But actually, Ollie and I were on a long run last week, and we were just saying how every day is just great fun. We work freaking hard every day, but we're having fun in every moment. Even when shit's challenging or stressful, whatever, you can still put your head on the pillow and be like, I earned my sleep tonight. And as long as like I don't lose sight of what's important to me, my wife, my kids, my close relationships, then the rest is like, I just want to push my limits, our limits as a team. And the cool thing about having Ollie as a business partner is that we just push each other. We have this like unwritten rule of like competition between each other. No one talks about it. No one goes like one up, but we're both like, okay.
Yeah, I saw him work on Sunday. I thought, for fuck's sake. Echo what Jen said. To be honest, it's like, what's the alternative? Would be my first question. So long as we can fulfill the other elements of our lives and make sure those people are happy that mean the most to us. The competitive advantage I gained from working weekends back in 2016 when I first opened my gym, it has served me so well. Like I got such a jump on everyone else in the fitness industry because I wasn't going out on Friday nights or Saturday nights. Like I was spending my weekends focusing on my business and working on myself. I think Hormozy put something out that I shared this morning. It's like that slight level of living in fear or paranoia that in here right now you're not doing enough. Only certain people have that, and some people will resonate with that. It can sometimes be what's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, deconstructive.
Deconstructive for certain people,
yeah.
And you do need to harness it with things like that give you some psychological renewal and restorative kind of recovery work and what have you. But for the most part, living slightly in paranoia that someone's going to come and pull the rug from under my feet means that every waking day that I have to work will be work.
Do you think some gym owners are lazy?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't necessarily think they're lazy. I think by proxy of the fact they get to gym ownership, they've worked hard to get there. I think then they're fearful of the hard work. Like with every level that you try and go to, there is a new devil and a new level of hard work that you need to face head on. And people find distractions that make them feel busy, that distract them from the thing.
From the thing that they need to be doing. So an example from our side of things is like when you get leads, you need to call them to be able to follow up with them. But so many people will procrastinate on doing that, and they give themselves an excuse. Oh, I just need to focus on this. But it's actually because they're just scared to pick up the phone because of some other reasons, and they're not willing to do the work to face that barrier, that internal barrier to actually do that hard work, because they've never just being a trainer working on the gym floor, you haven't had to do calls. But when you own a gym and you're starting to build a team and you need to get a certain amount of clients through, that's part of the work that's going to be required moving forward. So you have to smash through that, but then you just procrastinate.
We actually just referenced someone just now when we were sitting with Jerome around the same thing. Like I don't think the person I was speaking about to him was, and same context about calling leads, right? Some days they're shit hot, other days they kind of take the foot off the gas. And I don't think they're lazy on those other days. It's just that like if something's offered up that can distract them, they'll take the distraction. Now certain people are wired a certain way just to go after it every day with a relentless attitude, and they're the people that are probably the most successful people that these gym owners might be following. In which case I go back to success leaves clues. Like copy those characteristics and personality traits that person has if you want that level of success. If you don't and you're happy to be mediocre, then it's cool to be distracted.
And I love what you said earlier about, you sacrifice a lot of weekends and you basically just put more time into the thing you did versus others around you. Now your input your input showed your current output, which is going very, very well. And there's so much competition, whether you're a gym, you've got a lot of local competition, whether it's what you guys are doing, whether it's what we're doing. There's competition like rapidly getting faster and faster emerging. And it's like, who wants it more? And you've just got to put more in than everyone else around you if you actually want to start to rise. And if you don't put that work in, it will actually come apparent at some point very, very soon. Like the cream will always rise to the crop. Is it the cream will always rise to the crop or the top?
To the top.
To the top. I said the crop, yeah. But
that's a great point too. Like we like to try and gamify everything, and we manifest and fabricate like real life, and we'll just pretend there's someone out there trying to come for us. So we'll often say like, someone's coming for your jersey, and like, do you want to give it up to them or not? And also, like, we do believe we're out in front, whether we are or not, I don't really care. But we think we're out in front, therefore there's a target on our back. Therefore, people are always looking to us for what we're trying to, what we're doing, and they're going to try and come after us. Same with you guys, right, in the marketing space. So if you maintain that attitude, and it helps if you come from a sporting background, because competition is kind of what you seek, then you're constantly looking to like make sure that you keep the distance between you and anyone else.
Do you guys have a PA, and how do you manage your schedule? Because
such a great question.
I see on Instagram is motivating to me. So I think you as well. So our fitness dips for sure. And you guys are like on it with fitness. You're on it with business. 3 kids.
Yeah.
Ollie, 2 kids.
Yeah.
Jenz. How do you manage schedule? Is there anyone helping you with it? And then integrated the fitness into it as well.
So from a fitness standpoint, it just is a non-negotiable. And generally week to week, we've like built our week around just facilitating that first. So like our morning is most days like rinse, repeat. But because of that, it allows us to tee up everything else. So we know that if we do that, we can perform better in all those other places.
Just quickly on the training thing, there was like days like Saturday, Sunday where started to sleep in a little bit and train at like 7, which was kind of okay at weekends. But then we were like, stick to the schedule. We're in the gym at 5:45, even on Saturday, if we're going to train Sunday, because we have to, even on the Sunday. So like it was slowly built up over time and getting exposure to it. But now that's the non-negotiable. And if we have like an event and it's like midnight that we get home, one of us will still send the message, gym in the morning. And it's like, yeah, okay, the challenge is laid
Just
out.
the 2 of you, was the other team members training at that time?
Just the 2 of us. Others can join if they want to, but for the most part, it'll be the 2 of us.
You sneak out the house? Kids still asleep?
Yeah, still asleep.
Yeah, lights all off, just sneak out. But again, like, and like some days it'll take us 15, 20 minutes to even say a word because we're that tired. But after 15, 20 minutes, like, oh man, I feel good. How do you feel? Yeah, good. And then we just crack on. But it tees up everything else. And like we talk about it like back in the day, you train all week to compete in a big game. You go through a whole season. Nowadays, every day is competition day. So what is the warm up? What's the pre-meditation, meditation? What's the things that allows you to perform really well? And you want to do that repeatedly so that everything else just like clicks into place.
To give them a little bit of credit, there's some ladies we've brought into the company over the last sort of 18 months, potentially even longer, within the PFCA and within Marchon that do help organise our diaries a little bit more and help us, they pick up on things sometimes when we let it slip. But to give, I guess, credit to Jenz where it's due and to some degree myself, we've created a lot of order and routine. And I've talked about this for a number of years when it comes to training, nutrition and looking after yourself. But people can create a lot of order around one thing. Usually it's like getting to work on time, doing well at work. Like they can show high performance in one element of their life. If you can do that in 2, 3 or 4 areas like work, fitness, your nutrition, and your relationships, like then you're just operating on a completely different level to most people. So that would be the main thing, is like try and create order and routine around all the elements that you want to identify as. Make sure that you clearly communicate with whoever's involved in that area of your life so that you can collaborate and you can get the best out of each other. But to be honest, and for transparency, whilst it looks as though we're swimming along lovely on top of the water, it's the old duck analogy, like sometimes we are flapping like fuck underneath. But we just have a capacity to be, and I guess resilience, to be able to endure that from years of work and putting that work in, that you just have a big capacity for.
And are the team quite bought into that sort of organised chaos? Because we've got an event coming up in the next couple of days, and we're in that process where it's in the organisation build up, and there's always that kind of organised chaos, and everything's getting sorted. And it's that similar analogy that you said. Are the team very bought into, like, sometimes it's going to be chaotic here, but just like ride this wave with us?
The team are extremely bought in, but again, for transparency, like, it's not that the business is always in harmony, and there's never any issues that we need to resolve. So we've got our Q2 wrap up this weekend. So we've sent feedback out to the entire business, and there's a number of issues that we are kind of like not necessarily conscious of. We know they would be there, but it's given us a level of awareness and perspective that we need to be doing certain things better. So whilst it is organised chaos and everyone's willing to go hammer and nail everything and run through brick walls, sometimes there are certain things that we at the top need to be able to be better at with communication and leadership, etc.
How important is it for, and let's say I'm a gym owner, that I'm doing that audit on myself, on my business, and what's not working as well as it should be? Because the industry can be quite an ego-filled place. We want to just show the wins, the highlights, and we don't want to talk about what's not working so well. So how important and how often should a gym owner be looking at themselves and asking for criticism and being okay with what they get rather than being defensive?
I think to kind of go back to the lazy point as well, loads of gym owners are busy, but they're busy fools. So to your point, it's like, actually, let's kind of zoom into what are we going to measure you against and where is your energy best placed? So a lot of people talk about like balance nowadays. Like, I mean, Ollie and I speak about a lot with our guys is like, there is no such thing as balance. It's just knowing where you're going to place attention, and then is that attention best placed, that you're actually present, you're doing the thing. So for a lot of gym owners, it's actually going, and we talk about it like level 1, baby gym owner is like, it's chaos, it's unorganized. You're trying to spin plates, but they're all falling, right? And it's like one thing, then it's the next thing. Oh, it's like, now I need to focus back. It's like, how many people do you guys work with where it's like, I'm going to switch on ads and then I'm going to switch them off and I'm going to focus on sales. And it's like, I have no one to sell to. Yeah, because you needed to keep this thing on. So it's like, they can't really facilitate too many things. So then to go from that like baby chaotic gym owner to what we call as like an owner operator, it's just like you have better ownership of yourself, of your business, of like the decisions you make, and you're able to keep the operations moving just a little bit better. Might not be a really good cadence, but it's by far better than what you were doing. And then the evolution from that is move up to what we call as like a proper business owner, where you're utilizing KPIs to tell you the exact story that you need to hear with emotion removed, right? So you're purely looking at it going, how are we performing? How am I performing? Where can I measure against, et cetera, et cetera. And then it's about opening yourself up to accountability. Now, it might be through mentorship. It might be through peers. It might be through just someone you can answer to. But everyone needs some sort of accountability just to kind of hold you to a higher standard.
Can you give me a case study, and you don't have to say the gym owner's name or anything, like where were they when they started with you, the transitional period, and where are they now in terms of implementing your teachings and learnings?
Do you want to go to TC first?
Ross?
Yeah.
Yeah, he won't mind me mentioning him, I don't think. So Ross came to me around COVID times, young gym owner, early 20s, came from a professional footballing background, so used to high performance, wanting high performance from his personal training business. And he basically hung on every word that I ever said to him. Sometimes a little bit too much, where he would not put his own spin on things. But for the most part, like what he's done now is, 2-3 years into his journey, he's got a team of 6 or 7 full-time personal trainers. Like, to get to a stage where you're hiring 7 people, that's really impressive. He has a gym that's close to probably 200 or so members, doing around 40K a month, really good profit margins. He's opened his own coffee shop that's now doing 10K months after the first 4 weeks. Like, he's a serious operator that's constantly looking to progress himself, his team. He's investing into all the CPD that he should be. They're holding weekly meetings. They're making sure they're on the same page. They're showing up to events, and they operate exclusively in a male-only facility. So that's already taking away a huge proportion of the fitness industry that are looking to be coached.
In the Northeast.
In the Northeast as well, in Sunderland. So
to get to 0 to 40 in 3 years is very impressive. He's a decent profit margin there as well.
Yeah, and like I said, none of those numbers are inflated there. Like, that's bang on. He's a serious operator. And like I said, he will always look for accountability. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's like checking your ego.
And when he came to you, was he in level 1 chaos, and then you guys helped him ascend to 2 and then 3 to business owner, or was he a little bit further ahead?
No, level 1 chaos.
Okay.
But it would sometimes be like that weekly. He'd be like, oh, what about this? What about this? And eventually he had to learn to like have the autonomy to go and try things himself and make some mistakes, because that's also really important for the journey. But he was just able to implement. If I said do this, he would just go and implement. Whereas a lot of people, goes back to the lazy comment, they just shy away from it because it's fucking hard. They don't want to do the hard thing. But
what traits does he have as an ideal student for you guys?
Shows up. Like he won't go missing. Consistency. Ask questions.
And execution.
Yeah, execution is probably.
I think that's the most important thing. When someone takes the advice and just goes, yep, and just goes ahead and just executes, that is the best type of client that, well, we have anyway. The one that just does the work, cracks on.
The other biggest thing is his investment back into his business. Goes back to that first point. So if ever I've given a name of someone that I've like used for their consultancy in marketing or in accounting and finance or whatever, he'll remember the name and he'll find a way to contact them, and he'll go after them, and he'll then use their services. So, and like it's a really good way of like learning who I might have learned from, or I've got something from, and then he's gone and got it himself. So he's not always willing to take it secondhand. He's willing to spend the money. He's willing to invest, because for him, this is his baby and it's his everything, which is what it should be to most gymowners.
There'll be a lot of people either watching this or listening to this, and they want to understand the model of both of your gyms.
Yeah.
And then the model of what most of your clients have. And then one problem that we keep coming up against is we attract all different types of gyms, but we keep attracting gyms that are low cost or mid-ticket pricing. And then they see like the pure gyms, the gym group come into town, and it's ultimately game over. So there's 2 questions there really. What's your model in both the gyms? And then what model do you see working best?
So I'll preface this with a bit of context. If you're a personal trainer I'll use the term graduated, but I don't think being a gym owner is a graduation from being a personal trainer. But if you've graduated to gym ownership, that means you've got local notoriety in your local market, and you've probably, again, geographically speaking, it might be changed, but somewhere between £40 and £50 an hour, maybe. London even more than that, but let's just say £35 to £40 an hour. You've got full client books. You're probably delivering 30 to 40 sessions a week. So that means you should be uber confident that you can charge £40 an hour to a group of people, and you've probably got a waiting list of people to come. So at that point, you go to open a gym. The confidence that you've built to open a gym, then suddenly you crush that by opening a low cost gym that doesn't cater to the same people that got you to that position. Unless you've done your diligence and realized that there's no more than 40 hours to be coached to people paying £40 an hour, then there should never have been any reason to, 1, open the gym, or 2, start putting your prices there. So I would go back to the reason and how you got to open the gym first, which was charging proper money for a coach-led service, which was premium, which got people results, and they wanted to go and tell all their friends. Then also accept, and take this from us, take it on face value, because I really mean this, you will not survive if you open a gym that operates in that anything up to probably £120 a month.
We've done the maths. Anything less than 137 in like outside of the city, like you just can't afford it anything.
And is that for a small group like PT?
No,
that's that price range.
So large group, 137 a month is pretty much the baseline. If you look at rent, cost of wages, everything like that, and then small group above 200.
To price your small group, take your 1-to-1 PT personal training price, take at most 20% off per session, and that's probably what you should charge per session. So scale that up, multiply that by how many sessions you're running a month, and that should be where you stick your prices.
If I own a old school health club, or I've opened up a low cost gym, and I'm having that issue of like, oh, we're 35 quid a month and we've got a sauna, but Pure Gym have opened down the road at 20. What would you say to me to change my model or change it so I'm more profitable, generate more clients?
You can still own a gym that sells an open gym membership at £35, but you just need to bring a premium coach-led service into that gym. There are still personal trainers thriving in local leisure centres, which are low-cost gyms, charging £40 an hour. We've actually qualified a couple of personal trainers in our local town that charge £40 an hour that have graduated out of the PFCA Level 3 personal training course. So that can still be done. So you just need to bring a premium coach-led service in. We advise small group personal training. Again, if you're in a local market and you have notoriety, small group personal training is the best model to run. If you're trying to run multiple gyms, and going from a standing start in different locations, I believe group-based fitness is probably a better way to lead with, and hence why we started that with Stratford. But again, your price points need to be north. Jen said £137. Our price points are north of 200 on anything we do with group-based fitness.
So what we see is a lot of those gyms that are mid-ticket, 35, 40 quid a month open gym, they will just have contractors running their own business, personal trainers running their business inside of their gym. They wear the uniform of that gym.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks that they're an employee, but they're ultimately building their business within that person's business. What advice would you give to that gym owner? Why should they switch?
It's chicken and egg, right? Because you need the money to be able to invest into the people. So you're going to have to take, you probably need to work backwards from a 3 or 6 month time frame to go. You can keep banging your head against a brick wall where all your personal trainers are ultimately playing for the name on their back rather than the name on the shirt, even though they wear the shirt. Or you can, and again, you work from worst case scenario. It might be that you take a loan out to begin with to fund it, but it can be done and it needs to be done. So I would work out the time frame in which it will take, make sure you've modeled it out. You would pinpoint your most successful personal trainers within the club. You'd look at the current coaching hours they're doing and the money they're bringing in. You would put together an offer to them that would enable you to take their clients into your small group model. And ultimately, if they didn't want to take up the offer, then you're waving goodbye to those people, and then you're working your way through the coaches that you have until you find your team.
We obviously have 400 plus gyms that we're looking after right now. And the most profitable ones, all of their team are employed, and none of them offer a service outside of that service.
Yep.
So, it's controlled by the gym owner, and the owner's stress levels are lower.
If you take anything, if anyone finds Marchon inspirational in any capacity, the one thing that happened that changed the game in 2017, 9 months into us running the business, was that from then on, everyone has been full-time employed. There's been 2 circumstances due to resource and negotiation based on where the coaches were currently in kind of their journey, that we took on part-time coaches, and they're the only 2 people where it didn't work, and they've now exited the business. Everyone else has been full-time ever since that point, and it's the single biggest contributor to our success.
So would you say that is a non-negotiable for anyone that comes into your mentorship?
First thing we look at.
Get rid of, move over to full-time staff as soon as you possibly can.
100%. And like, you know what the worst is? Sometimes you see these gym owners come to us desperate. They're like, I'm so stressed out. I can't do this. I can't do that. And then when you look at the economics of how much cash is actually being brought into the business by substandard PTs, all like renting for free, but doing a couple of classes on the side, there's like hundreds of thousands of pounds a year getting transacted underneath their roof. And yet the gym owner is like, I can't even buy a new rower. It's like, dude, we need to have a conversation. Recently, we brought a guy on who, it's quite a hectic story, but hopefully this is inspirational to those of you listening. So he's built this incredible gym on like a farmland, like on a farm holding. It's beautiful. And the pricing is so bad, and his trainers are all making so much cash. And for him to make money, he has to also sell PT. He's selling PT at £25 an hour. Okay, so firstly, what on earth are you selling PT at that price for? And then to top this off, so his wife's a nurse who was on night shift recently. And like he just came on and he told me the story. And basically, it was 5 a.m. and he chose to go and PT a client, but he kept having to run upstairs to the house to make sure the kids were safe in the rest periods, because he had to be at home, look after the kids, but he also had to show up for his £25 PT session.
To give gym owners some confidence though, if this sounds like your life currently, you have all the ingredients under your roof. Like you have paying clients, albeit they're paying the personal trainers. You have PTs that you can bring part of your team. You have bricks and mortar. Like you have everything you need. We use a crap analogy around baking a cake. It's just your cake tastes shit right now. We just need to reformulate how we're putting the ingredients together and the amounts, and then we'll have a really nice tasting cake.
And so like 2 of the key mistakes when people come to you is 1, the pricing's wrong. 2, they haven't got the staff model set up correctly.
Yeah.
What other potential kind of red flags do you see when you speak to a gym owner of all that actually might not be good for your business right there?
Well, typically we look at it firstly through a lens of like, what are you doing from a marketing standpoint? What are you doing from a sales standpoint? Like, what is your offer? What is your front end offer? And then let's look at the coaching product. So through each one of those blocks, we kind of then go, okay, at the foundation, let's look at the model, let's look at the systems, all the rest of it. Some gyms don't have any systems in place. You're like, okay, well, we'll need to get some kind of flywheel in place here. And then it's like, okay, let's nail a couple streams of marketing and just be consistent with it. So you talk about like fishing rods in the water. It's like, oftentimes, I'm sure you guys get this, people throw their Hail Mary at FMA and be like, save my life. And it's like, yeah, we can do that. But actually, I also need you to flyer. I'm not flyering. I'm too good for flyering. It's like, no, flyering works, mate. Just, it's scary maybe for you.
Well, we've had situations where someone comes in and they get loads of leads and they make loads of sales, but 3 months later, they're in the exact same position they were in before because there were actually things that weren't correct within the business that needed to be adjusted before. But
it's always the marketing's fault, right?
Yeah. But
you brought the wrong leads in.
Yeah, that's it. Where it's just like, because the service is 100% amazing.
Yeah.
But that is something I hear this often. It's like, I just need to get them through the door. Once they're through the door, they're there for life. Do you hear that as well? Is that because I just want to say this to any gym owner that is listening. Every person that comes on a call in FMA history says that line.
Yeah.
Once they come through the door, they stay for life. And I'm sure there's some people that have a great service, but not everyone is in that level for sure.
Every gym owner says they've got the best gym in the world, but we all know they're talking shit.
Yeah, it's so funny because we get them to track all the key performance indicators, and the best is those people be like, oh, we never lose clients, and it's like, okay, but your attrition rate this month is 6%. You've just lost 8 people. Oh no, but one's for like a job, and one's for like moving house, and one's for like getting pregnant. Like all these like excuses that the client had given them to justify that it's okay. It's like, bro, just zoom out a little bit.
I think the 3 biggest red flags, I'll give you a 3.5. One is price point. Like most gyms are going to set up to fail, and it's a slow death, and most people listening to this are on their way to that.
Just zoom out a little bit.
2 would be coaches not being employed. 3 would be that the gym owner is still doing a lot of the coaching hours. Very seldom are you going to find a gym owner that can do all the coaching hours and can hire the expertise you need in a small gym business to run the operations or the marketing or the sales. It's not really possible. We can't hire in the expertise. We're probably the best person for the job. You need to learn it first before you can pass that on. And then 4, which is linked to full-time staff, is weekly team meeting that is built around improving the product and case studies. Because 1, the product isn't really given much thought, and 2, the coaches aren't employed, so they don't want to show up to those meetings. But they would be the 4 things that we fix.
Yeah, if you're self-employed and you're not getting paid for that half hour or hour, you're like, well, I'm not going to turn up. So they're just not invested in the bettering of the business. They just want to rock up, get their paycheck, and then leave. Yeah. So you guys got 2 gyms. You got your small group in Harpington, and you've got large group in Stratford.
Yeah.
And so you have had a really successful proven concept model of small group personal training.
Yeah.
What was the reasoning and rationale to completely change the model for the second location based on the fact that you had one successful model there? Like, why not just repeat that process?
Good. It's a great question, and we get asked it a lot inside the network. I'll go as quickly but as succinctly as possible for you. I believe, like I said previously, small group personal training is the best, most profitable model for a single site operator in a town where you have local notoriety, and it's born out of a personal training business. Those businesses are very emotionally draining because it's personal training, right? So there's loads of relationships. Customer service needs to be at a premium. The price point that you should be charging reflects how much effort and attention you need to give each one of those members. That's very hard to replicate on different sites for a number of reasons. 1, you don't already have the relationships within the community and you're not well known, which means you then, if you don't have that, need to go and find someone who has local notoriety. Chances are they're the sort of person that want to go and have their own gym in that town, and you're not going to be able to employ them. So I think it's very difficult to replicate the success of a small group training gym over and over again. Group fitness is something that we know that the market is really looking for. If you can attract maybe a slightly younger demographic, and I mean in terms of their the time delay between them doing fitness or sport and going into corporate world, not necessarily their biological age, right? So a younger demographic, people are into fitness more, they understand fitness, the vocabulary associated with it, and they love working out. Those people are everywhere. And I feel as though if you've got a proven product that again focuses on service, results with a cool brand, then I think that can be replicated. And the emotional investment into fostering relationships isn't as intense. Like you give someone a great workout for an hour, put on some social events, and that's probably as much as you need to do. They're not going to text you on a Friday night at 6 p.m. like, Ollie, I ate a burger. Like, what should I do? It's like that's a very reductionist comment, but you see where I'm going with that. So that was the reason why we didn't want to replicate small group training at Marchon HQ. I believe with the power of the brand, the attractiveness of group-based fitness, coupled with the fact that we're bringing a different caliber of coaching to group-based fitness, we'll have more success at.
And in London, like the sort of casual class goer type model is a lot more popular than it is in more rural areas, right? So you've got people, I'm not sure if you guys are like on ClassPass, but there's lots of those types of businesses where people will just come into that while maybe they'll go there. So it's a bit more, is that what you wanted to do? Like create a more casual entry point into the business?
I wanted people to come to our gym and love the fact they were there for an hour, hang around for half an hour and drink a protein shake, but then get on with the rest of their life, knowing, safe in the knowledge that they can come back the next day and do it all again, right? Rather than, like I said, the WhatsApp messages late at night that you have to do with someone that's spending upwards of, or should be spending upwards of at least £200, £300, £400 for your personal training service. That was my sort of reasoning behind it. Like I said, if there's people out there that are running multiple small group training gyms really successfully at the right price point, then I'll stand corrected. But we also had the opportunity to run a really good group-based offering, which some people might not necessarily have that opportunity.
Let's talk the product.
Yeah.
I own a gym. I think I'm good at writing programs, but I know how long it takes. Yeah. Can you guys help me?
So typically what we tend to do is get a screenshot of an entire block of programming and get you to tell me exactly what you're trying to do and what the mean average is of the gym. Oftentimes, gym owners who have that certain symptom, let's say, would typically find themselves programming something that doesn't actually match the members' needs, the mean average member in the gym, what they need to have a great experience, get great results, and ultimately keep coming back. So fundamentally, you look at that as like a zoomed out perspective and go, well, what are we doing here? What are we doing there? If we need to fix you or your head coach's understanding around just purely like education around fitness, we might need to go there. But there's like some short little fixes to the actual product that we can do in the short term, safe in the knowledge that we need to upskill. Because I think for a lot of gym owners, they've neglected either themselves as trainers, or they haven't even spent the time and money to delegate to the head coach, that the head coach can, start to improve their caliber of product that they're putting out. And fundamentally, the coaching product is not just on the gym floor, it's also off the gym floor that really matters, especially in a coach-led service where it's like, how are we able to hold clients accountable to that in which they said that they wanted to do? Because coaching is all about getting people to line up what they value with their actions. The best coaches can do that better than anyone else. It's like, hey, you value getting in shape, but your actions are misaligned. You're not doing the thing. So great gyms have great systems to hold people accountable so that therefore you get great results. And fundamentally, whether you like it or not, how do people sell your gym is when they're looking great and their mates see them at a barbecue and they're like, oh, Lord, what are you doing? It's like, I'm doing this Marchon thing. It's amazing. That's how they describe it. It's not anything to do with how we talk about fitness.
If my attrition rate is high, how much of that boils down to the service and the coaching on the floor element? And is there any other factors that may be attributing to that high attrition in your experience?
So sometimes it goes all the way down to the marketing. What did you promise? Did you overpromise and underdeliver? Did you promise something different and then the experience is different? And then everything from how well do you integrate people into your community? How well do people feel connected in the community and want to keep coming back? Oftentimes a trialist in your gym should come to that social event to be like, oh wow, these people are really cool. So I think it's quite a holistic approach, but it should be, especially in a coach-led service.
I think that hits the nail on the head. It's how well they're integrated into the community. We find that the people that stay the longest in the first 3 months, because no one's going to go, oh, I'm leaving because my back squat didn't improve, right? The first 3 months, it's really important, even in online coaching as well, to make them feel a stronger connection to the brand in some way, shape or form, which is usually through others within the community, helping them feel that way.
I had a message from a client this morning following one of my thoughts for gym owners was around how cheap CrossFit gyms will try and like race to the bottom. And he was like, it's so true. I have someone who's now paying 3 times the price of the local CrossFit box. And he sent a message saying, I feel so connected to this gym. I feel like I belong. I wish I joined sooner.
it's crazy how many CrossFit boxes devalue themselves. And we work with a number of them, and the ones that are successful are the ones that actually accommodate to a wider market. So many of them have this like really small field of view where it's like, no, we only want to work with CrossFit athletes, but you're in a town with 20,000 people. So it's like, not everyone's going to have a pair of Metcons and going to be able to snatch like straight away, right? Like, but that beginner market and people that are new to exercise and don't necessarily align with like going to a pure gym on their own, those types of people can actually love CrossFit. And it's crazy to see. And again, I'm sure you guys have this, but like targeting Gen Pop with CrossFit works massively well. And so many people don't see it yet. But like we call it the missing market.
Peter, quickly case study on Peter.
Yeah.
He's with us as well, isn't he?
Yes, yeah. So Peter Gribben is a great example. One of the questions was how attached are you to the methodology? Not very. It's like, okay, great. So now let's look at the programming. Let's make sure we're Gen Pop Fitness. We're general athletic development. That's all we do.
Muscle ups for time.
No, correct. I was like, okay, cool. How can we make more space, more quality for this? And then how can we give them a safe entry into the business? So how good is our consultation? How good is our prescription and accountability and all this stuff? And then that accompanied with you guys. I mean, that's a great case study between us both to see a gym owner, a CrossFit gym owner in that space accelerate well past his own expectations, and his profit margins are crazy.
In the review he wrote for us, this is why I love what I do, because in the review he just wrote, I couldn't sleep at night. And then he turned things around. Now he's got a super profitable business, and it's just amazing to see.
But mate, sorry to interrupt, when he came on, so he came to like a mini summit that we did, like a little workshop, and then he stood and waited by the door, and he reached out his hand to say thanks. He was like, can I join? But he was nervous, and I was like, join what? I was like, I want to join the mentorship. And I was like, like the way he approached it was like so nerve-wracking. And then like we seeing him go to where he's gone, it's so rewarding, isn't it?
We have a few cases where a gym owner will come to us and they think it's a marketing problem, and it is to a degree, and we turn on marketing, but then there's other massive gaps in their business. So like in Peter's case, if he had just come to us and didn't go to you, the growth wouldn't be what it is today. It would
have spiked, but then it would have had a bit of a crash probably. Whereas you guys had the foundations in place, or helped them set the foundation. So when that rise came, it stayed there rather than just spiked that back down.
Because of team, product, pricing, everything that we've talked about so far.
Yeah, and getting him to focus on where he's best placed to lead. And I think no one's really telling people how to lead their team appropriately, right? It's like, I need to be in everything. And it's so good to see. And like Peter's a great example of someone who we go, it's time to hire the next one. And he's like, okay, cool. And he'll just go do it. And then it's that investment mindset, and it's allowed him to go from strength to strength.
I was going to say, like, there's a risk that when people do listen to things like this, that there is so much, like, for transparency, there's so much as a gym owner that you need to try and get right. And it is tough. Like some of us, I still think I'm very lucky that I had, from the get-go, Charlie and Alex, who was my brother and my best friend. Instantly I had, like, trust was, there was no issues around trust. Both, Alex was a strength and conditioning coach with lots of experience. Charlie was a very hungry, ambitious coach. So I had a bit of a head start on a lot of people. And then,
because it was easier for you to get off the coaching floor because they were already there.
Yeah, well, you like I said, you got instant. Like, you tell someone to do something, you got instant trust they're going to do it because it's your brother or it's your best mate. Not many gym owners have that luxury. Or you say to someone, I need you to take over the programming, and you know they're going to do it to the best of their ability. And if there's a gap in their knowledge, they're going to ask, or they're going to go and look for the answers. And then again, just the friendship with Jenz, I've got someone that I can consult on. Like, most gym owners don't have those things. But in the Gym Owners Network and the FMA, it is actually all there for you. And I know there's obviously value and money that you need to spend there, but the return on the investment, and there was literally hundreds of case studies, shows that when you are ready, and this isn't a plug, but when you are ready, that is there for you. Like, everyone can achieve those things.
What would you say to the more sophisticated gym owner? Maybe they're doing upwards of 50, even touching 84,000 a month, $1 million a year gym. They've been in the industry 10 plus years. They've hired mentors. They've hired agencies, consultants in the past. Maybe they're working with them still, or maybe not. they've gone down the route of an app, or maybe they're watching you from afar,
Yeah.
but they're not crediting you, or they think they're at the same level as you in terms of growth, team, finances. How could you help an individual like that? Now, I know you've got the boardroom. Can you just explain a little bit about that, some of the characters in the boardroom, and how could you help someone who is at that level, 50K a month upwards in their gym right now, or their entrepreneurial business? Because we come across it as well, where we speak to a gym owner, but they've got 3 or 4 other businesses in different industries, and they went into the gym industry because they're just an entrepreneur.
I think also sometimes like you can grow your business to a level where you feel like all of the information around you is redundant because you've been there and done that. But if you have that mindset for too long, that could actually hurt you in the long run, because everyone needs to innovate, everyone needs to improve. So like, yeah, what advice would you give to those people that maybe are at a high level and think that they're doing great, and maybe they are doing great, it's not that they think it, but like what advice would you give them to be able to maintain and even improve that? And then, yeah, with the boardroom, like how do you help those people and other gym owners as well?
I'll answer the first bit and then I'll pass over to you for the boardroom bit. I think the first question is like, what level do you want to go to? Doing $1 million, doing 84,000 a month is brilliant. Most people probably don't think there's much beyond that. But, and you made the point about people being at our level. There is a world beyond that. It becomes more difficult to have multiple gyms doing that sort of numbers, and looking at online products, digitalizing your business would be somewhere that you could go. I think other areas to go would be, how many of those gym owners can genuinely take a full year out of their business and it still operate at the same level? Probably not many. So there are lots of things. There are lots of things that we can help gym owners move towards, whether it's completely hands off their business as it relates to the gym, whether it's looking at opportunities in the digital space, opportunities to create their own clothing or supplement range, for example. But I think it just comes down to people's appetite to want to grow beyond that. I didn't necessarily think there was much room for growth beyond the original Marchon HQ. It does similar numbers to what that are being sort of banded around the table. But there are elements of our business now that eclipse what Marchon HQ does. And in order to find the expertise and understand how to get there, I've had to look outside the fitness industry when it comes to coaches and mentors. So looking at the corporate space and what is it that big corporations do? How do they get the best out of their team? How do they run the cadence of their business from week to week to month to enable the business owner to be able to do very little if he or she so chooses to?
I think it comes down to the entrepreneur having the inner drive and the motivation to go, yeah, I've got it to this level, but now it's time to step up and take it to the next. And that's what we sometimes see, is where people get complacent, and then from that they become stagnant, and then they start to go back. And I don't think you can, as a business owner. You have to be consistent. You have to be showing up every day, like you guys are in the gym on a Saturday morning or Sunday morning at 5:45 a.m.
It might also be challenge outside their business that they need around their own physical well-being, their own mental well-being, their own relationships. Again, not to suggest that we have the best relationships with our wives, but I think they're pretty fucking good. So I think there's always room for someone to be that voice of reason on some of your decisions, to be the voice of challenge on some of your decisions, and just to be in your corner, wanting the best for you. That I think has always been very powerful for me the entire way along my journey, whether it's from rugby and having a coach or even into business. Every year of my journey, I've had a coach that has enabled me to go to the next level, or to give me enough challenge, or to hold me back when I'm trying to push too hard.
And even now, do you have like mentors and coaches around you?
Yeah. I again, not that the numbers mean anything, but I spend £7,000 a month on coaching.
So you've never not had throughout the start to where you are now, you've always invested in some form of coach or mentor?
100%.
It's crazy because there's some gym owners out there right now who have not had any help, or they did at the start and then they've completely stopped. And then you guys at the level you are in terms of the empire that you're building, and you're investing 7K a month in probably multiple individuals to help you.
We were doing 10K.
We were doing 10 between the two of us.
Yeah.
Up until a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
It's needed though, right? Like particularly in the fitness space, because there aren't many people, like I said, that you can look upon to go, oh shit, I now know which direction I need to take if I want to go to that level. So you need to look outside the industry. You need to invest. You need to put the skin in the game. I can't remember the quote you said before now. So what was the quote Charlie said before the
Yeah,
podcast
so
started?
he's paying more than he's ever paid.
Yeah, you pay more than you've ever, paying more than you've ever paid.
training more,
But you respect what you're doing now. So paying £7,000 a month, I respect the things that I need to be doing enough that I go and do them, because otherwise it's painful to be spending that money and not doing
actually taking action.
Yeah. So, and again, it's all relative, right? So you wouldn't spend that much money if the returns weren't reflective of what the effort you're going to put in. But it comes back to like ads. You'd spend £100,000 a month if the returns, meant that it made sense. Same with business coaching. Use Ross as the example. Use Peter Gribben's example, who's investing in boardroom with us at the Gym Owners Network in FMA. And I don't know what his profits are each month, but they're in the
15.
Yeah, I was going to say they're in the tens of thousands as a CrossFit box owner. Like, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
So the proof is in the pudding, and like I said, it's the rewards are reflective of the effort that you're going to put in, and the effort is amplified by the skin in the game that you put.
100%.
And I think it just goes to show, like, no matter what level you're at, probably in any industry, everyone needs a mentor. Everyone needs to continue to learn, because what you know now is probably not going to be super useful in 1 or 2 or 3 years' time. You have to continue to innovate your knowledge and your products and everything you're doing. Speaking of mentorship, the boardroom, what is the boardroom? How does it work? So I think you meet up every 6 weeks or so. Yeah, just run us through this.
So boardroom was born out of sitting around a boardroom table, actually, and going, where are we going to take our gym owners that have been with us for the last 2.5 years? Because we've taken them to as far as we could with the current systems and setup. So we created this boardroom thing where I was like, okay, firstly, a lot of them, growth for them is like to elevate to this business owner thing that we spoke about. A lot more data driven, a lot more utilizing KPIs to hold you accountable and remove emotion. Okay. Equally, to be able to delegate well enough to force you out of your gym once every 6 weeks to meet up anywhere around the country, get around in the boardroom and be held accountable at the highest level. To the point that it's like, stand up, did you do what you said you're going to do over the last 6 weeks? Yes or no? No, why not? And like, your excuses aren't going to cut it. But we wanted to create an environment where it's super high pressure, that these high performers felt like they needed to put more skin in the game. Fundamentally, what that's now gone and done is actually accelerated how much our network guys want to aspire to get there, how these guys want to continue to lead. And effectively, it's just created another level of like gamification. But for us, the biggest thing was like, we know that these guys just need more accountability to actualize what is their next level of challenge. And for most, even to the people that you were talking about earlier, Ben, most of the time, in order to grow, there's a level of vulnerability that needs to come to be like, there's still more to learn. If you generally feel like you've learned all that you can from us and we've done our job, we'll shake your hand and wish you well and be like, cool, sweet. But because we've never stopped growing, we know that we can take people along with us. And that's what we love. We love the fact that our gym owners can afford to buy their forever home, that they can go on holiday, that they can fund their kids, that they actually have private pension pots. Like, the fact that they can actually be in that position, most gym owners never get there, right? So the fact that we get to see that and let that come to life is just so rewarding. And it gives us a real kick when we get in that room and we're just like, we're really in it. Really in it.
So it's not just a couple of case studies have been gym owners that were in a bad spot, but it's also the gym owners that are doing okay, are doing well, but they just need that accountability to continue to perform to a high level, basically.
Yeah, I think it's about creating the right environment for the right conversations to take place. It's just like within your gym, there's going to be, if you run the class-based group fitness model and the small group personal training model, you've got two different sort of types of clientele, different environments. They're looking for a different type of experience. The vocabulary being used, the environment is very different. And that's what we found with the Gym Owners Network. The model we were running was great. People are still going to have vast success in that space. But some of the conversations were around things that we needed to move beyond that for a group of our members. So we created the boardroom as an environment for tougher conversations, a deeper level of accountability. And again, as much for reward for us to take these guys and break down any sort of limiting beliefs and push them through glass ceilings to go, okay, now we're going here and we can really work in a more intimate environment, understand what they're looking to achieve and take them forward.
Nice. And I want to go ahead and we'll probably go ahead and wrap things up. But I have one more question, because if we go any longer, we're going to move into the Joe Rogan length territory. But I'm pretty sure we could probably go there. Yeah, we could do it. Yeah, we'll get you guys back down. But I want to close out and just ask where you think the industry is going, because I see a lot of coach-led services, whether it's on the floor, whether it's online. I'm seeing a lot of focus on recovery and wellness, and you guys are doing a seminar at Sol Gilbert's Coach tomorrow, and that's got its own recovery zone. So where do you guys personally see the industry going?
So I think that the more premium coach-led thing is going to come more and more into fruition. I think that a lot of people are really after an outcome. So outcome-based sales and marketing are going to be really important. But then knowing that the establishment that they choose actually gets them there. So it's really important that the facility, the coach, the system actually works. So your product is going to be really, really key. I think that the low budget stuff, you can't compete with that. Like the pure gyms, what have you, they're just going to accelerate and grow. So this more premium thing is the only way in which you can actually differentiate. I do think that as inflation rises and cost of living continues to rise, if you're priced at like you're barely making money, you're basically a plane ready to crash. So unless you can fix everything that we've been speaking about for the last hour to enhance the perceived value and the actual value so that the clients respect it more, ultimately that's going to impact everything from a bottom line standpoint. Unless you do that, you're on a descent. That's what I see.
What about you, Ollie?
I think it's in relation to the wellness piece, I think it's a nice to have. I don't think it's a necessity. And this is someone who's got a home set up with an infrared sauna and an ice bath. I think what is a necessity is the 4 things that we spoke about before. Employing your coaches, getting yourself off the gym floor, improving your price point, and improving your product. I think if you can do all of those things and you've exhausted every square inch of your gym and hit capacity because there's no more people out there that want to come and buy your services for small group training, then maybe put something like that inside your gym.
Those are the 4 fundamentals that everyone needs to nail before getting shiny object syndrome and
there's some nuance and maybe some like spurs off of those 4 things. It's probably a bit broader than 4. But to answer your question, I would focus on getting a shit hot gym first, where retention is high, the product is great, results are speaking for themselves, people are referring their friends and their family into your gym all the time, and your profit margins are 25, 30%. Once you've paid for everything and you've taken money off the table yourself, then you can think about diversifying into wellness, because running a wellness business where you can put one person in an ice bath is going to be a lot harder to monetize and make money than running a small group training gym where you can make some decent cash.
And I think it goes back to, we spoke about this off the podcast, one of your gym owner thoughts, where it's like the gym owner who's not even near capacity and they want to go online. It's like they haven't filled up that first initial business. They haven't maxed it out, and then they're looking to do other things because they think it will help boost up. But actually, they should just focus on that core product.
I think something we talk about a lot, return on investment of energy is the most important thing. If you can place your energy on something that's going to give you the greatest return, that's what you should be doing. So to that point, what are you actually going to do with that limited energy that you have by going in and trying to sell a 20 quid a month online thing? Like the return is pointless. It's not worth your time, energy, or money. So it's like, to the gym owner thing, it's like rather consolidate all those different things, focus on putting your best energy, your best performance into that thing. And until you've done that and then being able to remove yourself and that still spins, there's literally no point.
Do you have a question, Ben?
Yeah, well, 2 things. You mentioned it now, and you do it every day. I see it. The gym owner, is it thoughts?
Yeah.
I enjoy those a lot.
How do people watching this or listening, how do they find these?
So it's literally, basically, I just started doing it and I was like, so for me, perfectionism often used to be something that would like hold me back from, well, not hold me back, but like I'd want to get everything done too well. And then I basically started like 4 or 5 months ago, where we identified that the PFCA is now in a position where like it's good. We have infrastructure and people in place that are allowing that flywheel to continue. And I needed to really like head up the gym owner network. So I was like, my personal brand needed to just like really go, put my hand up. I'm going to help gym owners find actual success in the industry. So instead of like making a perfect like Canva grid post or typing it out and sending it to the designer, I was like, I'm just going to put it on my story first thing in the morning, just whatever comes to mind. And I just started and ended up starting to get so much engagement. And now, like, it's literally the first thing I think about in the morning. It's great. So it's just on Instagram, my first thoughts of the day. And oftentimes it's either in relation to me when I was once a gym owner in my first few months doing all the stupid things that, like, I got it all wrong, or with some of the conversations that we're having day to day with gym owners and coaches. And it's just, oftentimes it's just trying to give a little bit of like value, just a little bit of contribution, that even if I can help shift your mindset today, it'll be practical and it'll be positive. If I can do that more, it's only going to net positive for
How do
everyone.
people find it?
So just on Instagram, coach_Jenz. And then oftentimes we pack out the context on the Gym Owners Network as well on Instagram.
And finally, I know I said we're going to wrap up a little
Well,
while
I've got
ago,
one
but
final
I've got more questions, so I just lied to
We can
everyone
keep
basically.
going.
Yeah, I'm happy
Joe
to.
Rogan,
Just
come
release
on.
it in 2 parts.
Yeah. What I wanted to know is, so we spoke about where the industry is going. Where are you guys going? You've got so many projects that you're working on, and I'm sure that you've
To the
got
moon.
much bigger plans. Yeah, point the camera upwards. I'm sure you've got much bigger plans. So, like, what does that vision look like for you guys? Like when you get there?
From a Marchon perspective, should we go with that first?
Yeah.
So, for transparency, like 2022, we brought a lot of things to the market all at one go. I also had the birth of my little daughter as well, so there's probably a little bit too much going on. So we've had to consolidate, to use Jenz's word there, in 2023 to really focus down on what are the big value drivers in the business. We've seen some really great growth in the online space. We've hit some key milestones, and we also invested very heavily into building our own app. So it makes the most sense for us to continue pushing that as the front runner for our business. It is financially the biggest chunk of our business. We are focusing on really bulletproofing what we're doing in the small group training facility at HQ, because we believe that transfers over to what we're doing in the Gym Owners Network really well. So we're really using that as a proper testing ground for how to run the best small group training gym in the world. And we're doing the same thing with group-based fitness with Stratford. So once we've pushed those two a little bit further over the next 6 months, I think there's an opportunity for us to have more gyms as it relates to the model we're running within Stratford. So that would cover the gyms and online. On top of that, we have our own supplement range, which up until now, we know that we've got great tasting products. The products are proven. They do what they say they're going to do, and they fit a real, they've got great market fit with what most people should take each day. So now it's about trying to roll those out into gyms. So we've got the wholesale partnership with Muscle Finesse. We're working with getting a wholesale partner in Ireland. That should be boxed off in the next couple of weeks. So then I want to try and get out into gyms, go and visit people just like myself that can get secondary spend from their members, and not just get secondary spend, but actually help them along their journey towards getting results, because most people are insufficient with their protein intake. Everyone could do with taking creatine. Everyone's probably poorly hydrated, and we do vitamin D and omegas. So that it's a small range of products that everyone should be taking to boost performance, and in turn it will help gym owners turn over more money. So that's the kind of, in the short term, it's keep going where we're going with online, and get our supplements humming a little bit more. From a gym owner's perspective?
Yeah, I think from the gym owner's perspective, really get great transformations with the gyms we're currently working with. Continue to just really build a good reputation for what we're doing there. Our aim is to build that network up to 150 gyms in the next 6 to 9 months, which is key. PFCA is in a great position where the reputation is there. We know that the level 3 stuff, the entry into what you're doing, no one can compare to that, and we just want to keep doing good quality there. It really facilitates all our gym owners being able to have the education business that we could deploy them into different workplaces, which is awesome. FFC, that course is just, it's a course that needs to be deployed into every coach's toolbox. So just to really accelerate our ability to get that to more people, get people actually doing that course and improving their skill set, their product. And ultimately, just see how hard we can go. Just push it.
Just for reference as well, on things like the FFC, that course, obviously we built it and designed it based on what we thought the industry needed. But every week at 4 p.m. on a Monday, our coaches sit down for an hour, and that's one of 3 hourly team meetings. They sit down for an hour and go through the FFC page by page with Craig leading it. Now, not everyone has the luxury of Craig leading it in-house in person to their coaching team, but we're now doing FFC cohorts, which it's a 12-week intake, and you get coaching calls with Craig, so you actually get walked through the FFC. So if gym owners are looking for education for their coaches, this is literally the education we use with Marchon coaches.
What does FFC stand for, and who's Craig?
functional fitness coaching certification. Craig is our head of education. So you just need to find him on social media, Craig Massey Coach. He runs all the education from the level 3 now, our functional fitness coaching certifications. We have a level 1, which is online, delivered over 12 weeks with a monthly coaching call with Craig. And then we have level 2, which is an in-person 3-day intensive.
And this is the basically become a next level coach course, because the qualification will give you those basic fundamentals, but this is the next level.
Or team as well, right? Your team becomes.
Yeah, I think what we talked to this a little bit earlier on the podcast. For me, if the gym owner wants to get off the gym floor and stop being the best coach, the coaching team need to have a common language, a common lens to look through, to be able to spot problems, to be able to look at a case study within their gym and be able to come up with a solution for that person. And you can literally look through this, you can all start looking through the same lens. You might see something slightly different, but that's where collaboration can then come into place. So the FFC fixes that problem. It's a common language. It's a principle-based approach. It helps you build your own philosophy on what needs to go on under your roof. And once you have that, your team are facilitated, then you can almost run your weekly meetings or bi-weekly meetings, whatever it may be, through the lens of the FFC to make sure we're continuing on the same page. And it's just a really nice way to continue to develop your coaches, invest back into your business, and know that your product is improving week on week.
It's quite an easy way for the gym owner to know that their coaches are getting the right education as well, because it's just a stream pathway, right? Rather than going for this course and everything in between, it's just place them on this and it will give them that pathway of development over a period of time.
We were always really hungry for whatever the next course was, and we found ourselves and also our coaches going on a number of different courses. And I think that's also really important, whatever it may be, CrossFit level 1, British weightlifting, American coach comes over with some sort of course, you go visit it. But it's very hard to bring that into the small group training model for the Gem Pop client that most of us serve. So the FFC fixes that for the specific clients that most gym owners or most personal trainers will come into contact with.
You guys travel a lot. Dubai, you went to Austin, you was in LA, Orlando, and then you obviously visit a lot of gyms in UK and Ireland. Be it clients or non-clients, just people you know in the industry, what are some of the top gyms that you've been to, trained at? You were just at one around the corner from here, Jerome's. Just the top 3 to 5 gyms that stand out for you, either as clients or just ones where you've trained in and everything was like superb.
Quick story on 2 girls I met in Orlando. We got talking and I tried to flex at how, because their gym was a similar size to my original gym. And I thought I'd flex like what that gym was making in the early years and things. And they were kind of like, oh yeah, that sounds cool. And I was like, what about you girls? And they were doing $1 million, right? They were doing 80 something grand a month, right?
No, they were doing 125.
That was in like a small 1,500.
They were, I think they had
1,200 square foot. And they were doing
so I've completely undersold it. They were doing $125,000 a month, Ooh. Right? And I didn't go to the gym, so I couldn't check the product, but we looked on their social media. The product wasn't probably to the standard that we would want it to be at, but what it shows is, coming back to the pricing point, is that they were charging
$799
a month. And it
for
was
3 SGPT a week.
It was simply a mindset shift for them. And what you found with the Americans is that they just play bigger games and they're happy to have a go and they celebrate success and the sky's the limit. And that was something that really sort of like rang true with me, that these 2 girls, they were really charismatic, loads of energy, really good people. They'd unlocked a mindset where like anything was possible. So I think that was a really good lesson for me coming back from America. But to answer your question, what gyms would we say?
I think it's hard to say, right? Because
you don't want to give bias to a client's gym versus
the ones. I think fundamentally.
Do you want, let me. So I won't name any particular gyms but the gyms that I genuinely respect are the ones that go after best in class equipment. And I'm going to drop Black Box in there, but they'll go after the premium equipment from the people that are looking to innovate in that space. And again, not everyone has the resource to do all those things, but they're willing to invest from the get-go and they're playing long-term games. They employ their coaches. Their coaches all speak so highly of the gym owner themselves and the gym. Their coaches are regularly going out to off-site visits to train in other gyms, to go and network with other gym owners and to see how other people are doing it.
I think that's an interesting point, because I remember one of our early conversations where you went on a consulting day to a gym and they had like 20 different makes of equipment, Boso balls, fit balls, boxing pads, and like you were like, what is this? Like, just gradually brought kit over time, right?
Yeah, it literally looked like a PT, everything he had ever bought for his van.
Like
And he just
Vipers,
he
all
just
this,
threw it into his gym. And what I said was, it feels like a 1980s health club. That's what it felt like. And it just goes back to like a real considered approach to the coaching product. Even from, I mean, you guys talk about this really well, right? Even from when I park, where am I parking? Where am I walking to? Who's meeting me at the door? What does it feel like when I walk in the door? Am I met by like huge weights or Rogue Echo bikes? Look at my Rogue Echo bikes right by the door. Like all of that really matters. And the ones who take a real attention to detail for all those things are the ones that really go on. And again, to Ollie's point, like investing into best in class, it's even to that point, you aspire to be best in class. Whereas like if we bring back to like the CrossFit gym owner or box owner, how did most CrossFit box owners start their box? What's the cheapest? How long can I pay it on a lease? And how much is the guy down the road charging? I'm going to undercut him by like £2. That's literally the story.
The most exciting bit for it, though, for gym owners, is that there's not actually that much competition, and it's not that hard to be good, particularly in the UK.
That's an interesting thought process where there's not that much competition, but there are a lot of gyms around. But are you referring to like the like in terms of competition, that high standard that you guys are setting? There's not that many people with those standards around.
Yeah, I don't need you to give stats on the 400 gyms that you look after, or let's look at how many calls you take each month at the gyms. There's probably, I'd say, over 70% of those gyms you probably look at and go, they're not making any money and they're going to fail if they carry on going the way they're going. Would that be fair? 70%?
Yeah, I'd say that it's in a minority that are very sophisticated and kind of know what's going on, and the rest are kind of in the right direction, but there's things you can identify that probably need some tweaking up for sure.
Yeah, and it's the same echo this side. So if we look at that as like a sample size, there are loads of gyms and there's loads of quote unquote competition, but there's very few gyms actually making any money or doing things well. So therefore, I think just getting a few foundations in place will put you ahead of most people.
That's such a good way to look at things, because one person could just go, there's gyms everywhere, but where you guys are like, you're like, look up here, there's gyms nowhere. And I really rate that, to be fair. And that's a really good way to look at things, because you could look at it in two completely different angles.
I always wanted to be the most expensive trainer in my era, always, and just keep pushing that. So it's like a gym, like you'd want to be the place where people like, fine, go try everyone, but when you're ready, come to the top.
Marchon's really good, right? But we're not that good. And there's no one that's near us. That sounds very egotistical, but like looking at most of the gyms across the UK, there's no one doing what we're doing. So I say that in confidence to everyone else, to say like everyone else can do that too, because everything we've done isn't necessarily groundbreaking, and we've actually got the blueprint to be able to teach people to do similar things with a big vision, with relentless work ethic, with getting the right people on your team and getting people, wild, results as it relates to training. You can also do it. It's the barrier to entry isn't high.
You guys have talked about a number of different things that you offer and can help anyone watching or listening to this. Can you just give out some links where they can find specific things, be it if I'm a consumer that wants to get qualified, if I'm just starting my gym, if I'm a sophisticated gym owner, if I want to go down the supplements, if I want to do the app, if I actually want to come and join, if I live in the local area in Stratford or Harpenden?
I'll go PFCA first. So from a PFCA standpoint, thepfca.com. We offer education at every stage of the coach's journey, from getting you qualified to taking you to one of the best coaching products you can. As a gym owner, if you came to us and you wanted us to develop a bespoke training package for you and your team, we could facilitate that as well. Then if we look at the Gym Owner Network, so the gymownernetwork.com, over there you'll find a few of our case studies and you can apply to work with us. What we tend to look at through the application level is largely, why is now the time for you to go ahead and invest, and whether or not you're ready to go and do some radical stuff to try and move you forwards. It's going to require you to see bigger things and want to go after those bigger things. And typically it's not just a quick fix here or a quick fix there, but we're going to go and build some foundations that in the next 12 months, you won't be able to recognize your business, to the view that we want you to be able to look at your business with pride and be like, oh, I built that, which is cool. And then over to you.
Yeah, I'll keep it concise. I think just hit me up at Ollie Marchon on Instagram. connect with me, because I'd love to connect with whoever, whether it's on any of the things that we've discussed. And I won't try and sell to you. I'll genuinely try and give you some advice and help you. And if I think one of the things we do is right for you, then we can talk. I want it to be known that everything you've heard from myself and Jenz comes from a place of like genuine passion and for walking the same path that everyone has for over a decade now. And it's not like we're here on this ivory tower saying you must do this or you must do that. We genuinely want to help people, whether it's just free advice, coming to seminars, following the social media pages, or actually investing in our services.
Yeah, it totally comes across. Yeah, you guys are so passionate about what you do, and you really want people to change, either someone who's on their own transformation for fitness or weight loss, or if it's the consumer that wants to change career and become a PT, or the gym owner that's stuck and wants to generate more revenue. Like, you can just tell like you're authentic and what you bring to the table.
I feel like we're in the jungle, like trying to hack down the trees and fight off anyone that's coming, so that we can pull everyone then through with us afterwards. Because like I said, the industry's in its infancy. It's full of charlatans. There's no one really doing anything that good when you look under the hood. But we want to have an army of gym owners, personal trainers, people enjoying their fitness that we can influence and help and pass them on their journey.
And just helping everyone just raise the standards, essentially, whether it's with their fitness or with their fitness business.
That was the original mission, and that will never change.
It doesn't change.
Cool. I think on that note, we'll go ahead and wrap things up, guys. But guys, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. And every time I speak to you, I just want to do push-ups afterwards. I feel like it's great. But we'll go wrap things up. And thanks very much.
Thanks, Charlie. Thanks, man. Cheers, boys.
Thanks for listening to the Fitness Marketing Agency podcast. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe so you can catch future episodes.